Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and Malik Willis is reportedly the best quarterback at the Senior Bowl practices so far. Literally, quote, stood above the rest, unquote, from scouts, NFL analysts. So we're gonna dive into all of that. What Matt Miller said, Daniel Jeremiah, and other scouts that are there, and what teams are heavily interested because of the performance he's put on at the Senior Bowl. Also, Washington met with Carson Strong, so we're gonna talk about that some as well. And we're gonna start with day one, what Malik Willis did well, and what he didn't do well, then day two, and how he separated himself from the rest of the pack, like head and shoulders above the rest on day two. And then I'm gonna talk about just Malik Willis overall, what he experienced during the Senior Bowl, and how he progressed from day one to two and all of that. Y'all know how I feel about Malik Willis, so we don't even have to spend too much time talking about that. But before we dive into this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Be on the lookout for all of my videos and streams. Y'all already know, man, the off season is my best season, and be on the lookout for the Senior Bowl live stream. During the Senior Bowl, when they're playing the four quarters like a regular game, I will be live streaming, so stay tuned for that, because y'all know I'm really excited about our potential chance of getting one of these quarterbacks, specifically Malik Willis. I'm gonna be watching with a magnifying glass when he's on the field. But without further ado, man, let's get it. All right, so starting with day one, first of all, coming into the Senior Bowl, Keith Sanchez of the Draft Network, like that's the name, the Draft Network, he said, quote, he has the best arm talent in the draft. I want to see if he can throw the ball accurately on all levels of the field. He has a chance to leave the Senior Bowl as QB1, unquote. And that was the majority of people's thoughts coming into the Senior Bowl. We know he has the strongest arm. I still don't know why some people feel like they need to argue against that. Like Malik Willis, at the very least, we should all be able to agree 100% that Malik Willis is the most naturally talented quarterback in this class. He has the strongest arm and he's the most mobile. He has the most arm talent, all of that. But coming into the Senior Bowl, first of all, we have to see what he looks like matched up against a higher level of talent, which if anything, this is actually a better environment for him because he had the worst situation in college as far as the team around him and who he played against. If you had to do like a net positive or net negative points, like a numerical system where you give positive points for the team that they have around them, receivers, offensive linemen, coaching, all of that type of stuff, and then what they had to go against throughout the season as far as defenses with defensive line, corners, defensive coach, and all of that type of stuff. Malik Willis easily had the worst net negative. He had the worst situation around him. It's him, then a gap, and then Sam Howell, and then every other quarterback in the draft as far as the situations around him. So him going to the Senior Bowl, this is great for him. He finally has receivers that can separate. He has receivers that are catching everything. He has an offensive line that can block that actually gives him time. He built up so many bad habits because he was just so used to playing hero ball with receivers not getting open, and he's just having to just heave something up. That's why he gained a lot of bad habits, throwing interceptions, throwing in the triple coverage, because he's like, if I don't throw it or make a play, nothing's ever going to happen on its own. Still not an excuse at all, but those are why he has some of those bad decision-making plays, why he has those bad habits, and I can definitely see him developing out of that easily. Just work within the confines of an offense, do your off-schedule stuff, but don't force anything. I think that's fairly simple. I don't think that's as hard to do as many people make it seem. And then also, he's a little scary in the pocket. Sometimes even when he did have a clean pocket, he's out here spinning and dodging imaginary edge rushers because it's almost to the point that he has PTSD. And I also think that's something he can shake off, especially with us. I mean, we have a top 5 offensive line when healthy. I think we have a great situation around Malik Willis if we end up drafting him. But yeah, back to my original point, man. Here at the Senior Bowl, he finally has an offensive line that can protect him. He finally has receivers. So if anything, this is easier than what he dealt with at Liberty. Even though technically he's going against better defensive talent, the difference between the defensive talent he went against in college and when he's going against in the Senior Bowl is nowhere near as big as the difference in the offensive talent that he had around him at Liberty versus what he has around him at the Senior Bowl. So he's in heaven right now. He's a kid kid in a candy store. I got 3 or more seconds to actually scan the field and throw a pass. That man is having the time of his life at the Senior Bowl right now. But yeah, going into the Senior Bowl, like I was saying, there were a lot of questions about his accuracy for the most part. Of course, his decision making, of course, but I've already explained where a lot of his bad habits came from. But accuracy as well. Pretty inconsistent with accuracy. And then to start off day one is crazy. Very early on, he had a fumbled snap exchange under the center. So that was a little weird. But he settled in and was able to run the offense from under center easily. Like, he's not one of those guys that's going to have this really difficult transition of playing mostly in shotgun in college and then having to learn how to run plays from under center at the NFL level. He's straight on that. You don't have to worry about that. And then people started to notice immediately that he has the best velocity on his passes out of any quarterback in the Senior Bowl. You have Ryan Fowler, who said the ball just pops out different out of Malik Willis's hands. Easiest of gas. Somebody from Cox Sports pointed out that Malik Willis has looked very good today, especially deep down the field, but he was letting some of his underneath throws sail a little bit, and that was just a byproduct of everybody just trying to shake off their jitters. Like, a lot of quarterbacks were inaccurate during the first day. I mean, that was just expected from the Senior Bowl in general. And then you have Kent LaPlante at MathBomb on Twitter, the one that does the RAS athletic scores, that's like heavy in the scouting as well and player projections and all of that. He said Sam Howell, Malik Willis, and Bailey Zappe were far and away the better quarterbacks on the first day of the Senior Bowl practices. He said Carson Strong, Kenny Pickett, and Desmond Ridder struggled a bit. The Sam Howell, Malik Willis, and Bailey Zappe group were far more consistent and far more accurate, according to at MathBomb. But he did say both groups dealt with poor offensive line play, which ruined their rhythm a little bit. And then Matt Miller said after the first day of practice, Malik Willis has an easy, fast throwing motion with a whole lot of zip behind it. Accuracy has been a little off here early, but his arm talent is the best of this QB group. I'm still amazed that some people thought it wasn't. Some people were saying Matt Corral, some people were saying Sam Howell, some people said Carson Strong. I can see the argument for Carson Strong, but still, it's Malik Willis easily. And then Joe Marino said the best way I can sum up Liberty quarterback's performance on day one of the Senior Bowl practices is that he had the 5 best throws of the day and the 5 worst throws, which doesn't surprise me. It was day one of the Senior Bowl, and that's pretty much what he's been in college as well. He looks like the best quarterback in the class easily some plays, and then sometimes he looks undraftable. Then day 2, Jordan Reed, a draft analyst that I trust very strongly, he said quarterback Malik Willis was impressive today. He was able to clean up his accuracy from day 1, looked much more confident, and even showed his mobility. The ball explodes off his hands, and he had a lot of nice tosses on day 2. He has the strongest arm of any quarterback in mobile. This is a reoccurring theme that's been said by at least 5 people already. We're not even done with the video. At GoHouse NFL said rave reports on Malik Willis today at the Senior Bowl. He has all of the tools to fit today's game, and I agree. If you're trying to find a quarterback that fits the mold of any of these elite quarterbacks, Malik Willis is really the only guy here. If we're talking about elite, I mean, if you want to go with another guy to play it safer, I understand. But if we're talking about potentially getting an elite quarterback, the only one honestly in this class is Malik Willis, or at least he's your best bet by far. And then somebody charted the highest initial airspeed miles per hour from all of the quarterbacks that threw on day 2 of the Senior Bowl, and Malik Willis was the highest by far. He had a 75.7 highest initial airspeed in miles per hour. Desmond Ridder was second with a 72.1. Kenny Pickett was third with a 71. Bailey Zappe was fourth with a 69.5. Sam Howell was fifth with a 67.1, and Carson Strong was 6th with a 66.1. And I don't want to read into that too much because that definitely wouldn't be my arm strength ratings. I would definitely go like Malik Willis, Carson Strong, probably Sam Howell third. So the fact that Malik Willis is 1 and then Sam Howell and Carson Strong are 5th and 6th, that's a little weird to me. But while they were throwing at the Senior Bowl, that's your order of the most zip thrown on passes. Also, another improvement from day 1 to day 2, along with accuracy, a scout said, quote, well, it was a new concept for him. He's basically working left to right. He's got 4 guys in the progression, and he went from 1, 2, 3, then 4. Actually, there's 5 guys in the route. He's looking to his left, doesn't have it, and just progresses to his right and gets to the last guy in his progression. For a young quarterback to have that play and get through that read and throw a nice ball on a check down on that wide route, I was really impressed with that. It was pretty sharp, and it was something he had never done before. I'd credit coaching, but it was probably more Malik than anything else. So that's also another thing that he's showing more in the Senior Bowl than he showed in college. First of all, improved accuracy, and secondly, his ability to go through progressions and find the check down option when nothing else is open. And that's my biggest thing. When you're scouting quarterbacks, can you see improvement? Can you note improvement in technique, improvement in accuracy, improvement in decision making, just over the course of the whole scouting process? Whether it be his first year in college, his second year, do you see improvement year by year? And once I see that, I'm optimistic about a prospect because you can project them to continue improving with time, with better coaching especially. That's the most of it. Or a better situation around him. That's a lot of it too. Again, with Malik Willis having the worst situation around him in college, to come to us with a top 5 offensive line and Terry McLaurin just alone, he would be the happiest man on planet Earth. He will have the most fun he's ever had playing quarterback in his life. And that progress, those steady steps of improvement, most notably in technique, accuracy, and decision making, and the ability to go through progressions and read the defense, I think that's huge. That's one of my favorite quotes from the entire week. But also, people were going crazy about Malik Willis and how he performed day 2 in the rain. I mean, it was pouring down. It wasn't just a regular rain. It was pouring down at certain points. Somebody said, quote, "Everyone is raving about Malik Willis right now. He is clearly the best quarterback here. Everything is in sync, even in the rain. Timing, mechanics, impressive." Speaking of the rain, another quote came out from a scout saying, "Yesterday in the rain, every quarterback struggled throwing the ball aside from Willis. It didn't affect him in the slightest. He showed scouts he can play in any type of weather. Willis shined yesterday, gets hyped today, and the Eagles are a team that's reportedly interested in him because of it." And now I'm literally just now seeing on my phone, there's an official report that the Steelers clearly prefer Liberty quarterback Malik Willis over Pittsburgh quarterback Kenny Pickett. And I'm not surprised. Lord have mercy. Now we got to fight the Steelers, who pick after us, but they're going to try to trade up ahead of us, which means we will have to trade up to get Malik Willis. That sucks. And another quote from somebody else, Liberty quarterback Malik Willis seemed like the only quarterback playing unbothered by the elements today. He was excellent throwing the ball in this driving rain. And I don't know if it's just the advantage of the fact that he's from Atlanta and we get like perpetual rain. It's like a weird blend of forest, tropical, and swamp. I mean, we get perpetual rain, and I guess growing up in that, learning how to play football in that, maybe it just doesn't bother him. I'm pretty sure he got way less rain when he played in Liberty, but I guess he channeled his inner high school, middle school, just his whole growing up, and it was just nothing to him. It's just what he's been dealing with his whole life up until the point that he went to Liberty. I mean, you can even look it up on Twitter. Go look. Malik Willis is out here throwing complete darts in the pouring rain. Go just type in Malik Willis on Twitter. And one of the people that uploaded a clip of Malik Willis throwing a dart in the pouring rain, he also spoke about the other quarterbacks and said that Carson Strong, Desmond Ridder, Kenny Pickett just looked average today. With the rain, they were clearly affected. Also, a Giants Twitter account said that Malik Willis has shown that he can put good touch on the football when he needs to the last 2 days, not just a fastball thrower. So that's really interesting as well. That's something I've already known from watching tape, but a lot of people's big concerns with Malik Willis, okay, so he does have the strongest arm in the class, but does he know how to change the velocity on throws, the angles on throws, and put touch on it? Yes, he can. He's not just a fastball thrower, like this Giants account said. And then Kyle Humans on Twitter said, when he's given time to throw, Malik Willis has been picking apart the defense. Accuracy, velocity, poise in the pocket have all been on display. And of course, like I already said, his poise in the pocket was just naturally going to be improved because he doesn't have PTSD behind that Liberty offensive line. So I'm not surprised about that, but it seems like some people are. And then Tyler Fornes tweeted out the biggest standouts from day 2 of the American team practice from the Senior Bowl. Florida State edge Jermaine Johnson, Georgia defensive tackle Devontae Wyatt, yes sir, I heard that. Florida running back Damian Pierce, UCLA tight end Greg Dulcich, and Liberty quarterback Malik Willis, obviously. Then Matt Miller tweeted out, been running around like crazy today, but wanted to at least get this tweet off. Malik Willis, Devontae Wyatt, the Georgia Bulldog, and Jermaine Johnson balled out today. I mean, that man went out of his way to make sure if he got one thing tweeted, He wanted to make sure that was the one thing that was known. Daniel Jeremiah also said later on in the day, Malik Willis has been the most impressive QB here through 2 practices. And then overall, I mean, Mark Bullock went on to Twitter, Burgundy and Gold film analyst, and cut up some plays, showing some plays from Malik Willis at Liberty. And it shows how his arm strength matters because he's able to fit the ball into windows that most quarterbacks can't. He said, quote, arm strength isn't the be all and end all of quarterback play, but it can give a quarterback prospect a big advantage in certain situations. Malik Willis shows example here. Has the arm to rip the whole shot versus 2 trap, then on a double move, forces cornerback to sink more on the 3rd play, opening up the slot out. So not only is he able to fit the ball in places that most quarterbacks can't, but also the threat of his arm makes defenders play differently, and it opens things up underneath. And most notably for us, that's going to open up the run game. Just imagine having a quarterback that can hit Terry McLaurin in stride deep down the field, how that's going to take defensive players out of the box and open up things in the run game for Antonio Gibson. Just the threat of having a Malik Willis on your team. And you know Scott Turner wants to go deep, we just couldn't. I mean, Kyle Allen came into the game in place of Taylor Heineke, and within just a few plays started throwing deep bombs. And we started running more read option and more play action bootlegs. I guess he didn't trust Taylor Heineke to do that, but Scott Turner has shown that he wants a quarterback that can do all of those things. And that offense is perfect for Malik Willis. Then at MathBomb again, the guy that does the RAS scores, very trustworthy draft analyst, tweeted out later on yesterday after the day 2 practice that Bailey Zappe is getting a little bit more juice on his throws today. But again, it's crazy how good Malik Willis's arm is in comparison to Zappe and Howell. It's a difference. And then an Eagles reporter said Malik Willis has the biggest arm in the 2022 draft, is the best athlete, and is built like Joe Mixon. He completes throws no one else even attempts in this class. QB1 easily. And I'm not surprised. That's actually crazy too, because that's how I felt. He's literally built like Joe Mixon. So I'm not worried about him being that short. It's kind of like Russell Wilson, where even though he's short, you don't have to necessarily worry about him getting hurt like a Matt Corral. He's built to take hits. I still prefer for Malik Willis to learn how to slide way more than he did at Liberty, but again, that's just some of that hero ball, trying to get extra yards when he can, because yards didn't come easy with that terrible offense around him. So I just really hope that he learns how to slide. You see him slide sometimes at Liberty, but I want it way more often. I don't want him taking hits. But again, at the end of the day, he has the build to take hits. And he's somewhere in like the range of 6'2", not quite 6'3", but it's not like he's just super short like Russell Wilson. Like, he's not that small. Or Kyler Murray. It's not that bad. But he's also, of course, not built like Josh Allen. Speaking of Josh Allen, a Broncos reporter said the reports coming out of the Senior Bowl regarding Malik Willis remind us of the reports that were once surfacing with Josh Allen. Strong arm, small school, big frame, mobile, athletic, and improved accuracy. All of those are very important, especially improved accuracy. Again, anything with progress, improved technique, accuracy, decision making, I'm a bet on it, because once you see them progress from year to year, at least you have an example of how they can continue to improve when they get to the NFL level. I don't think he's gonna hit a wall at all. But of course, he's not literally built like Josh Allen. Josh Allen is way taller, but Malik Willis is basically just as strong, and same everything else. Strong. When Malik Willis hits the NFL, he's gonna have a top 4 arm talent, arm strength, easily. He's up there with those guys, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, if we're talking about arm strength and arm talent. And then again, he's also going to be a top 3 mobile quarterback as far as speed and agility. He's not quite Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray, but he's right behind them. He's the guy that's right behind them, literally 3rd out of the entire NFL. So the athleticism is there. And again, the most important trait out of that entire list is improvement, especially with the Denver Bronco reporter talking about improved accuracy. Also, at NFL Draft Bite said Malik Willis reminds me a lot of Josh Allen. There's undeniable flaws in his game, took too many sacks, interceptions, lower level of competition, but the talent is undeniable. Only quarterback in this class that really excites me. And that's true for me too. He's the only quarterback in this class that just makes me like, oh, I gotta take a chance on him. Anybody else, it's kind of like if we get him, I can see a scenario where they can work out for us, and I'll be happy. Whoever we take, I'm a ride with. That's just my quarterback. But Malik Willis is the only one that has me really excited to get. Even Kenny Pickett, with how safe he is, again, I would enjoy having him. and I'd be happy we got him, but Malik Willis is the only quarterback that excites me in this class. I mean, the ceiling is ridiculous. I mean, he literally has top 5 quarterback potential. People want Deshaun Watson so bad, Aaron Rodgers so bad, Russell Wilson so bad. The only quarterback that even has the potential to play at the level of those guys is a Malik Willis, and you don't have to trade 3 first-round picks to get him. At The Real 4-0 said, Willis was the star of the week. Strong has mixed reviews, but I thought he was really good. I need to see more from Sam Howell and Bailey Zappe, though. At Mock Draft Monday said, we came into the Senior Bowl week looking for a clear-cut QB1. We might come out with a guy who is going to finally force somebody to take a quarterback top 3. They also said, is the quarterback class still relatively weak in terms of prospects? Yes. Does that mean quarterback won't drive the first round? As always, no. We just saw 2 quarterbacks retire in the last week and 3 young quarterbacks duel for the AFC. The most important position in pro sports is not going to be discounted. And that's true. Teams around the NFL are starting to see more and more that quarterback is literally the most important position in sports. If you don't have a quarterback, everything else pretty much doesn't matter. Of course, a quarterback can't carry an entire team to a Super Bowl, but it doesn't matter how well put together a team is when you have Jimmy Garoppolo out here selling the game. It just doesn't matter. NFL Draft Bites also said Liberty's Malik Willis has the biggest arm and is the most athletic of the top tier quarterbacks in this class. Ability to utilize that athleticism in the run game as he develops in other areas will be a huge asset to an offense. Not sure how he's not the top quarterback in the class. And I agree with that. I've been saying that. With his athleticism, even if you need him to work on technique, accuracy, decision making, working through his progressions, all of that type of stuff, at the very least, if you wanted to start him week 1, even though I wouldn't highly suggest it either, even as big of a Malik Willis fan as I am, with the early success we've seen from guys like Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts, Malik Willis is a better thrower than all of those guys coming out of college. So if they can have early success based on the way that the offensive coordinator worked the offense around their skill set and made sure it was very run heavy, Josh Allen as well his rookie season, then I don't see why Malik Willis wouldn't be able to. That's why I feel like Malik Willis has a certain floor to him, because nowadays you take a mobile quarterback with an arm, offensive coordinators are not stubborn anymore. They don't try to force quarterbacks to be Peyton Manning anymore. They actually mold offenses around these mobile quarterbacks and bring in plays similar to the ones they ran in college that they had so much success with. I mean, sometimes offensive coordinators literally take some plays dead identical to the plays that they ran really well in college and literally just added to their playbook. So just let him run a very simple run heavy offense as he develops mentally and with his accuracy and technique. I say, if you want an argument for why you should start him week 1, there it goes. Again, I wouldn't necessarily start him week 1. We'll see how he progresses, how he looks in the Senior Bowl, if he's ready. But at the end of the day, man, if Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson and even Josh Allen can see early success by just running a very run heavy offense, why wouldn't Malik Willis, when Malik Willis is more athletic, has a stronger arm, and has a better arm coming out of college than Jalen Hurts did? He's faster than Josh Allen, and he's definitely a better thrower than Lamar Jackson coming out of college. I think how raw he is definitely overhyped, in my opinion. And then also with interviews, people have loved him with interviews. First of all, he talked about how he takes notes from Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and Matt Ryan. He said something to the extent of he likes Russell Wilson's mobility and deep ball accuracy, I believe. He said Aaron Rodgers' ability to extend plays and look down the field and try to find an open receiver rather than just running just because you can. And that's one thing I really like about Malik Willis, is very underrated. He can scramble. He's really good at scrambling. He will be the 3rd most mobile quarterback once he hits the NFL, but he's not one of those guys that just takes off running prematurely. He's definitely one of those guys that runs to throw. He doesn't see an open lane and just runs just because he can. Just because he's the fastest guy on the field doesn't necessarily mean he wants to run all day. He's scrambling looking for an open receiver, and I love that about him. And I love the fact that he even talked about how he looks up to Aaron Rodgers for that. And then he also, something that's really important that I like that he said as well, is that he likes to watch a lot of Matt Ryan films so he can learn to become a better anticipator and work on his anticipatory throws. And that's big. If he can work on that, he's going to be unstoppable. And it also is funny too, because Mike K on Twitter tweeted out, Malik Willis starts his press conference saying, quote, "Good morning," unquote. When the scrum doesn't respond with a huge return on the greeting, he says, quote, "No one says good morning anymore, they just stare," unquote. And Mike K went on to say, big smile on his face, he's a charmer. And that's just that country in him. The yes sir, the yes ma'ams after everything, even if it's a stranger, the good morning no matter what. But I also like the fact that he was confident enough to joke with the reporters. He already has some charisma with the reporters. That's that face of the franchise type of thing. But then there's been a report of the teams that have already met with Malik Willis. You have the Falcons, Broncos, Saints. It's already been reported, like I said earlier, that the Eagles and Steelers are heavily interested in them as well. And then speaking of meeting with quarterbacks, it's been reported that Carson Strong has met with 16 teams since the Senior Bowl. And of course, all of them asked him about his recovery and his growth as a quarterback, but most notably his recovery with his injury history. And that's the thing that scares me the most about Carson Strong. But it is reported that we were one of those 16 teams that met with Carson Strong. And along with Carson Strong, Mock Draft Monday tweeted out earlier today, stock ups and stock downs. Stock ups, Malik Willis and Carson Strong, of course, and stock downs, Sam Howell and Desmond Ridder. Somebody else also pointed out that whoever drafts Carson Strong, you should also draft his tight end Cole Turner from the same college, Nevada. All three of his best passes from day one of the Senior Bowl went straight to him. And then speaking of Desmond Ridder, I mean, he struggled a lot. Don't want to harp too much on it, but just to read some of what the scouts were saying. First scout, Cincy quarterback Desmond Ridder is definitely struggling going through his progressions day one at the Senior Bowl. It will be interesting to see what he improves on throughout the week. Another scout, I like Desmond Ridder. He's a legend for the Bearcats. Today has been a rough day though. Misreads, decision making, and bailing early is certainly something to be concerned with at the Senior Bowl. Another quote, very tough day so far for Cincinnati quarterback Desmond Ridder. His ball placement has been an issue all day long, draft stock going down, and it doesn't help when Kenny Pickett and Strong are both having a good day. And then the last quote regarding Desmond Ridder, at this rate, Desmond Ridder is going to struggle to figure out how to untie his cleats after practice. Really tough day for him. Nothing going well. Short, long, even getting the snap, whatever. Looks like he's swimming out there. But yeah, man, in conclusion, first of all, I want to point this out. If you need a quarterback, go to the state of Georgia. Matthew Stafford's in the Super Bowl. Cam Newton carried a terrible offense to 15-1 to a Super Bowl trip where they lost. Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson before the chaos, Justin Fields, all of them. And then you also have Malik Willis, who should be the first quarterback taken in this 2022 quarterback class. One of the highest ceilings out of any quarterback to come out of the draft in a minute. Easily the highest ceiling in this draft class. So again, if you need a quarterback, go to the state of Georgia. I mean, remember Nick Saban said a couple of years ago, the best high school football in the nation is in Georgia. I'm just trying to put y'all on. Also, before we go, the Athletics' Ben Standig said that Senior Bowl director Jim Nagy thinks that Liberty quarterback Malik Willis best fits the criteria of what Washington head coach Ron Rivera has said he's looking for at the position. Said, quote, he is a big, thick, put together guy, really hard to get to the ground. That was my main takeaway from that UAB game. Like Roethlisberger, he shrugs guys off. He can make plays with guys draped all over him around his legs. He's just a big, strong kid, strong arm. And that's where the Josh Allen thing comes from too. Ben Roethlisberger, whatever one you want to say. And like I said, like Russell Wilson, where he's thick. He's really mobile, really fast. Again, not quite to the level of a Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray, but he's right behind him. He's third. When he hits the NFL, he will be the third most mobile quarterback as far as speed and agility. But at the same time, he's not a twig. He can take hits, and even while guys are around his waist, around his legs, he can still deliver a throw. That's huge to me. He is the definition of if all else fails, I can still make something happen. And then Brett Coleman, to end it all off, said earlier today that if the NFL has learned anything over the last few years, is to bet on coachable kids that can run and have howitzers for an arm. They don't care what Malik Willis looked like in 2021. They care about what they can turn him into for 2023. That's why he's going to go really high. And I'm sad to hear that, because that makes sense. That's why he is going to end up going really high in the draft. Maybe even like top 5. But at the same time, that's my same thinking. You got to look at the 2021 film, but the thing you care the most about are traits, projectable traits. How can you project them? Again, looking at progress, improvement in decision-making, accuracy, mechanics, footwork, all of that. And along with, I mean, just elite traits, athleticism, arm, mobility, all of that, you have to look forward into the future and what he could do for your franchise moving forward, and not necessarily what he's done in the past. And NFL GMs are going to do that, the smart ones at least. And somebody's going to take them and end up getting a really good quarterback. I hope it's us. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. And as always, man, I appreciate all of the support, man. Make sure y'all pull up to the Senior Bowl live stream again. And as always, I appreciate all of my supporters, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now, man. I really appreciate y'all. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.